In the sterile glow of a private hospital room in New York City, Neil Thompson stood frozen as the heart monitor flatlined, the piercing beeps slicing through the silence like a knife. Mr. Reginald Harrington, the reclusive billionaire banker whose fortune spanned continents, had just whispered his final words to Neil alone. "It's all yours now, son, every last cent." As nurses rushed in and security escorted Harrington's estranged family out, Neil realized his life as a simple gay nurse was over, thrust into a whirlwind of inheritance that would expose every hidden fracture in his world. Neil had always been the invisible one in the bustling corridors of Manhattan General Hospital. At 32, with his neatly trimmed beard and kind hazel eyes, he blended into the background, just another caregiver in scrubs tending to the elite. But Reginald Harrington wasn't like the others. The 80-year-old tycoon, founder of Harrington Global Bank, had been admitted 6 months ago with terminal pancreatic cancer, his body wasting away while his mind remained sharp as a vault lock. Harrington's family, a viper's nest of ambitious children and scheming grandchildren, visited sporadically, their conversations laced with veiled demands for updates on his will. Neil, assigned as his primary nurse, became the unintended confidant. It started innocently enough. Late-night shifts where Harrington, unable to sleep from the pain, would ramble about his youth in post-war America, building an empire from nothing. Neil listened, offering water or adjusting pillows, his own life a stark contrast. Raised in a conservative suburb of Chicago by parents who still pretended his sexuality was a phase. "You're a good man, Neil," Harrington once said, his voice gravelly. "Better than my own blood." Neil brushed it off, focusing on the job. But as the months dragged on, their talks deepened. Harrington confessed regrets. Marrying for status, alienating his kids with his iron-fisted control, and a secret he'd buried deep. A brief, forbidden romance with a man in his college days, cut short by societal pressures. "I chose the bank over my heart," he admitted one rainy evening. Neil felt a kinship, sharing snippets of his own struggles. The boyfriend who left when Neil came out to his family, the slurs whispered in hospital break rooms. The hook came on a crisp autumn morning. Harrington's lawyer arrived unannounced, papers in hand. "He wants to revise the will," the man said curtly, eyeing Neil with suspicion as he left the room. Hours later, Harrington called Neil back in. "They're circling like sharks," he muttered. "My son, Edward, thinks he's entitled to it all. But he's a fool, squandered millions on failed ventures." Neil nodded sympathetically, but Harrington gripped his hand. "You remind me of who I could have been, free from all this pretense." That night, as Neil administered morphine, Harrington made his decision known only to him. Word spread like wildfire through the hospital. Whispers in the cafeteria. "The gay nurse. What's he got on the old man?" Neil ignored them, but the pressure mounted at home. His partner, Jamie, a graphic designer with a gentle soul, sensed the shift. "You're distant lately," Jamie said over dinner in their cozy Brooklyn apartment. Neil hesitated, bound by patient confidentiality, but the weight was crushing. "It's just work," he lied, though his mind raced with ethical dilemmas. Was it wrong to accept kindness from a patient? Did Harrington's vulnerability make their bond exploitative? Then came the family confrontation. Edward Harrington, a burly man in his 50s with a perpetual scowl, cornered Neil in the hallway. "What games are you playing with my father?" he snarled. "We know your type. Preying on the weak." The homophobic undertone stung, echoing Neil's father's words years ago. "No son of mine." Neil stood his ground. "I'm just doing my job, sir." But inside, doubt festered. Was he crossing lines? The hospital ethics board hovered, rumors of undue influence swirling. As Harrington's condition worsened, the visits intensified. Granddaughter Lila, a sharp-tongued lawyer, tried charm. "Dad says you're close to Grandpa. Any idea about his plans?" Neil smiled politely, saying nothing. But the isolation grew. Friends distanced themselves, fearing association with scandal. Jamie pressed harder. "If it's affecting us, I need to know." Neil confessed partially. "He's lonely, Jamie. Like I was before you." Their relationship, built on trust after Neil's painful coming out, felt the strain. One evening, Harrington summoned Neil alone. "I've changed everything," he rasped. "The will, it's in your name. Not them." Neil's heart pounded. "Why me?" Harrington's eyes softened. "Because you listened without wanting. And because I see myself in you. The road not taken." Neil protested. He wasn't family, wasn't even straight like the world expected. But Harrington waved it off. "Family is what we choose." The death came suddenly 2 days later. As the monitor flatlined, Neil stood there, the secret burning in his chest. Security removed the family amid protests. Edward's roar echoed. "This isn't over." Neil slipped out, calling Jamie in a panic. "Everything's changed." But as he hung up, a lawyer's card appeared in his pocket. Harrington's final gift? Or curse? The inheritance wasn't just money. It was a battlefield. The days following Reginald Harrington's death blurred into a nightmare for Neil. Paparazzi swarmed the hospital entrance, their flashes blinding as he tried to leave his shift. "Is it true you're the heir?" one shouted. Neil ducked into a cab, heart racing. The New York skyline a mocking backdrop to his unraveling life. Back home, Jamie waited with crossed arms. "The news is everywhere. A gay nurse inherits billions?" "Neil, what the hell?" Neil collapsed onto the couch, spilling everything. The late-night confessions, the revised will, Harrington's hidden past. Jamie's face paled. "You didn't tell me? We're partners." The betrayal stung deeper than any family slur. Neil reached for him, but Jamie pulled away. "This changes us. Money like that. People change." Neil insisted it was about justice, about Harrington righting his wrongs. But doubt crept in. Was he naive? The ethical tightrope tightened. As a nurse, he swore to do no harm, yet accepting this felt like profiting from vulnerability. The Harrington family struck first. Edward filed a lawsuit the next morning, claiming undue influence and mental incompetence. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire's gay nurse accused of manipulation." Neil's phone buzzed endlessly. Reporters, old acquaintances fishing for details. His parents called from Chicago, their voices laced with disapproval. "Nealander, is this some kind of joke?" His father barked. "We raised you better than to take advantage." His mother added softly, "And with your lifestyle, this will only make things worse." The words reopened old wounds. Coming out at 20 had shattered their family dinners. His father's silence, a wall Neil could never breach. Now, this inheritance amplified every prejudice. At work, the atmosphere turned toxic. Colleagues whispered behind his back, "Think he's sleeping his way to the top?" The hospital placed him on administrative leave, citing potential conflicts. Neil wandered the streets, the weight of societal judgment pressing down. In America, where equality marched forward but shadows lingered, being gay still meant scrutiny. He met with Harrington's lawyer, Ms. Elena Vargas, in a sleek midtown office. "Reginald was lucid," she assured him. "Video evidence of the signing. But the family will fight dirty." She outlined the empire, banks in Europe, Asia, real estate worth billions. "He wanted you to lead it ethically, something his kids never could." Neil balked. "I'm a nurse, not a banker." Vargas smiled. "He believed in you, but belief came at a cost." Jamie grew distant, their arguments escalating. "What about us? You'll be jet-setting while I'm here." Neil promised nothing would change, but the seed of resentment sprouted. One night, after a heated fight, Jamie packed a bag. "I need space. This isn't the life I signed up for." The door slammed, leaving Neil alone with echoes of loss. Was this the price of Harrington's gift? Trading love for legacy? The court battle loomed. Edward's team dug into Neil's past, his failed relationships, a minor arrest from a pride parade scuffle. Character assassination, Vargas called it. Neil attended depositions, facing Edward across a polished table. "You preyed on him," Edward accused. "A lonely old man, and you with your agenda." The homophobia was blatant, but Neil held firm. He chose me because you failed him. Edward's face twisted. We'll see what the judge thinks of your kind. Amid the chaos, Neil sought solace in memories of Harrington. Flashbacks to their talks. Society forced me into a mold, the old man had said. Don't let it break you. Neil visited the grave, a simple stone in a Queen's cemetery, far from the family's opulent plot. Why me? He whispered again. Answers eluded him, but resolve hardened. He hired his own investigators, uncovering Edward's embezzlement. Millions siphoned from the bank. This could turn the tide, Vargas said. But using it meant stooping to their level, a moral quandary that gnawed at Neil's soul. Social pressures mounted. LGBTQ advocacy groups rallied behind him, calling it a win against bigotry, but Neil felt like a pawn. Protests outside the courthouse. Signs reading "Love wins," even in wills. Yet, hate mail flooded his inbox. Threats from anonymous bigots. Reminders that acceptance was fragile. His sister, the only family ally, called. Dad's furious, but I'm proud. Fight for what's right. Her words bolstered him, but the isolation deepened without Jamie. A pivotal moment came during a mediation session. Lila, the granddaughter, approached privately. Grandpa trusted you. Maybe we can share. Her eyes betrayed desperation, debts from a lavish lifestyle. Neil considered it, tempted by peace, but remembered Harrington's words. They'll ruin it. He declined, igniting her fury. You'll regret this, Fairy. The slur hit like a punch, fueling his determination. As the trial date neared, Neil reflected on his choices. Nursing had been his calling, helping the vulnerable, much like Harrington helped him posthumously. But now, every decision carried consequences. Lose the case, return to obscurity. Win, and face a world that might never accept him. Jamie texted, "Miss you, but this empire, it's not us." Neil stared at the screen, torn between love and legacy. The high rose, the stakes climbing with each passing day. The courtroom in downtown Manhattan buzzed with tension as the trial began. Reporters cramming the benches like vultures awaiting a feast. Neil sat rigidly beside Vargas, his suit feeling like a straitjacket, while Edward glared from across the aisle, his legal team a phalanx of sharp suits. The judge's gavel struck, and opening statements unleashed the storm. This is a case of exploitation, Edward's lawyer thundered, painting Neil as a calculating opportunist who manipulated a dying man. Vargas countered fiercely. Reginald Harrington chose Neil because he saw integrity where his family offered greed. Evidence mounted. Medical records proving Harrington's mental clarity. Witness testimonies from hospital staff about the genuine bond. But the family's attacks were personal. They paraded experts questioning Neil's motives, insinuating his sexuality influenced the decision. Mr. Harrington repressed his own desires. One psychologist testified. Perhaps he projected onto the plaintiff. Neil seethed, the implication reducing their friendship to pathology. Cross-examinations turned brutal. When Neil took the stand, Edward's lawyer pounced. Isn't it true you discussed your personal life with the deceased? Shared intimate details. Neil met his gaze. We talked as humans do. He was alone. The lawyer sneered. And you, being openly gay, perhaps encouraged certain confessions? Objections flew, but the damage lingered, echoing societal biases that viewed queer relationships through a lens of suspicion. Neil's hands trembled. This wasn't just about money. It was an assault on his identity. Outside the court, the media frenzy escalated. Talk shows debated, hero or hustler, the gay nurse's billion-dollar grab. Neil avoided it all, holing up in a temporary hotel to escape protesters. Supporters chanting equality, opponents hurling slurs. His mental health frayed. Nights brought nightmares of Harrington's ghost, whispering, was it worth it? The ethical weight crushed him. By fighting, was he honoring the gift or succumbing to greed? Jamie reappeared unexpectedly, knocking on the hotel door one rainy evening. I saw the news. They're tearing you apart. They talked for hours, Jamie's presence a bomb. I left because I was scared of losing you to this world. Neil confessed his fears. the family pressure mirroring his own parents' rejection. Dad called again, said I'm embarrassing the family. Jamie held him, then proved them wrong. For us. Their reconciliation sparked hope, but it was fragile, tested by the trial's demands. A bombshell dropped mid-trial. Neil's investigators revealed Edward's embezzlement. Vargas presented documents, transfers to offshore accounts, lavish purchases masked as business expenses. The courtroom gasped. Edward denied it vehemently, but cracks appeared in his facade. Lies, fabricated by this intruder, he shouted. The judge ordered a recess, and in the hallway, Lila cornered Neil again. Drop this and we'll forget the fraud. Share the pie. Her offer tempted. End the pain, salvage some peace. But Neil saw the manipulation, the same entitlement Harrington fled. No. He wanted better. The decision haunted him. That night, with Jamie asleep beside him, Neil paced. Using the dirt meant betrayal of his principles. Nursing taught compassion, not vengeance. Yet silence meant losing everything. He chose to proceed, the moral compromise a scar on his conscience. The next day, Edward's team countered with dirt on Neil. Old emails from a bitter ex, claiming Neil was opportunistic in relationships. See? A pattern. They argued. Jamie fumed in the gallery. That's not you. But the jury's faces showed doubt. Societal prejudices amplifying every flaw. As testimonies wrapped, closing arguments sealed the drama. Vargas appealed to justice. Reginald saw in Neil what America promises. Merit over bloodline. The opposition warned of precedent. Allow this, and every caregiver becomes a threat. The jury deliberated for days, the weight agonizing. Neil reconnected with his sister via video call. Mom's softening, but Dad, he's stuck in the past. It mirrored the broader fight, progress clashing with tradition. Finally, the verdict, in Neil's favor. The courtroom erupted. Cheers from supporters, outrage from the Harringtons. Edward stormed out, vowing appeals. Neil stood numb, victory bittersweet. Reporters mobbed him outside. How does it feel to win? He muttered. Like surviving. But the cost tallied. Strained relationships eroded trust. Jamie hugged him. We did it. Yet Neil wondered if we included the ghosts of choices made. Post-trial, the empire beckoned. Board meetings in glass towers, executives eyeing him warily. A nurse turned CEO? Neil dove in, reforming policies for ethical banking, drawing from Harrington's regrets. But shadows loomed. Anonymous threats, family sabotage attempts. One evening, a brick through his window with a note. Faggot thief. The hate reminded him vulnerability persisted. His parents visited unexpectedly, the reunion tense. We're trying, his mother said. His father grunted. Don't let it go to your head. Progress, incremental but real. Jamie proposed marriage amid the chaos. Let's build our empire together. Neil accepted, a beacon in the storm. But as appeals dragged on, the tension simmered, building toward inevitable confrontations. With the verdict secured, Neil stepped into the towering headquarters of Harrington Global Bank, the marble lobby echoing his hesitant footsteps like judgments from above. Executives lined up, their handshakes firm but eyes calculating, whispers of the nurse trailing him. Welcome, Mr. Thompson, the interim CEO said coolly. Reginald's choice was unconventional. Neil nodded, masking his imposter syndrome. Overnight, he commanded billions, yet felt like an intruder in a world of suits and spreadsheets. The transition unleashed fresh conflicts. Board members, loyal to the old guard, resisted his reforms, divesting from unethical investments, promoting diversity. This isn't a charity, one snarled during a heated meeting. Neil countered, drawing from Harrington's confessions. It's what he wanted, integrity over profit. But pushback mounted. Leaks to the press painted him as an unqualified outsider, his sexuality fodder for tabloids. Gay Heir's radical agenda threatens legacy. Societal backlash intensified, conservative groups boycotting the bank, emails flooding with vitriol. Neil's resolve hardened, but the toll on his psyche deepened. sleepless nights questioning if power corrupted, if he'd become what Harrington despised. Family dynamics shifted perilously. Edward, undeterred by the loss, rallied siblings for appeals, uncovering new evidence. Alleged recordings of Neil's conversations with Harrington. Coercion, they claimed. Vargas dismissed it as fabricated, but the legal fees drained resources. Lila turned traitor, selling stories to magazines. Grandpa was manipulated by his charms. The betrayal stung. Neil had seen glimmers of humanity in her, now shattered. In retaliation, he exposed more of Edward's misdeeds publicly, a decision that haunted him. "Is this who I am now?" he confided to Jamie. "Fighting fire with fire?" Jamie urged caution. "Don't lose yourself." Personal sacrifices accumulated. Jamie's design firm suffered guilt by association. Clients pulling out amid controversy. "It's us against the world," Jamie said, but strain showed in his weary eyes. Neil's proposal acceptance brought joy, but planning a wedding amid lawsuits felt absurd. "Maybe we elope," Neil suggested. Jamie laughed bitterly. With bodyguards? Security became necessary after a stalking incident, a disgruntled Harrington relative tailing them. The paranoia eroded their intimacy, arguments flaring over priorities. "The bank or us?" Jamie demanded one night. Neil snapped, "It's for our future," but doubt festered. Was the inheritance a blessing or a poison chalice? Moral quandaries peaked during a crisis. A bank subsidiary in crisis, employees facing layoffs. Neil chose to bail them out personally, defying board advice. "Compassion costs," a director warned. It did. Stock dipped, critics howled. Yet workers thanked him, echoing Harrington's belief in him. "You're different," one said. Neil clung to that, but isolation grew. Friends from nursing days faded, viewing him as changed. "You're one of them now," an old colleague texted. The class divide, intertwined with his identity, amplified prejudices. A turning point came at a family gathering, the Harringtons' annual gala, now under Neil's control. He attended reluctantly, Jamie by his side. Edward confronted him in a dimly lit corridor. "You don't belong here. Give it back, or we'll destroy you." The threat was visceral, Edward's breath hot with rage. Neil stood tall. "Reginald chose me because you destroyed him first." Fists nearly flew, security intervening. Lila watched from afar, her expression a mix of envy and regret. Later, she approached privately. "I miss Grandpa. Maybe." Truce. Neil saw the ploy, divide and conquer, but her vulnerability mirrored his own family struggles. He declined gently, but the encounter stirred empathy, complicating his black and white view. Back home, Neil's parents called with unexpected news. His father had a health scare, prompting reflection. "Come visit," his mother pleaded. Neil flew to Chicago, the reunion awkward but pivotal. His father, frail in a hospital bed, grumbled. "Heard about your win. Didn't think you'd pull it off." No apology but acknowledgement, a crack in the wall. Neil shared Harrington's story, paralleling their repressions. He regretted hiding. "Don't let that be us." Tears welled. For the first time, his father listened. The visit mended fragments, but highlighted the broader societal fight. Acceptance required confrontation. As appeals intensified, a leak revealed Harrington's secret romance. Letters from his youth, unearthed by investigators. The media spun it. Billionaire's hidden gay past explains shocking will. Neil felt violated, the exposure a double-edged sword, humanizing Harrington but invading privacy. Advocacy groups praised it as progress, but Neil mourned the loss of sanctity. "He trusted me," he told Jamie. The revelation fueled debates. Was the will a late atonement? Ethical panels weighed in, Neil testifying remotely. It was about choice, not labels. The climax built. A final appeal hearing. Evidence stacked against the family, but Edward played his ace. A forged document claiming Neil promised shares. Vargas dismantled it, but the drama peaked with Edward's breakdown on stand. "He stole our father." Tears flowed, revealing deep-seated grief. Neil saw the humanity beneath the greed, the pain of rejection mirroring his own. In a shocking twist, he offered a settlement. Minority shares for the family, control retained. For peace, he said. The court approved, a compromise born of exhaustion. Relief washed over, but scars remained. Neil pondered the costs. Fractured bonds, moral compromises, the relentless grind of prejudice. With Jamie, they married quietly, a vow to endure. Yet as the empire stabilized, questions lingered. Was victory worth the war? In the aftermath of the settlement, Neil surveyed the transformed boardroom of Harrington Global Bank, now infused with his vision. Diverse faces around the table, policies prioritizing ethical investments over ruthless gains. The stock rebounded, headlines shifting from scandal to success. Nurse-turned-CEO revives empire with heart. Yet beneath the acclaim, Neil grappled with the profound changes. His reflection in the window a stranger, lines etched deeper from battles fought. Jamie stood beside him, their rings glinting under fluorescent lights. "We made it," Jamie whispered. But Neil knew survival came at a steep price. The family's acceptance was grudging. Edward, with his share, retreated to a quieter life, occasional emails hinting at reluctant respect. "You handled it better than I would," one read. Lila pursued her own ventures, their paths crossing at charity events with civil nods. The thaw extended to Neil's kin. His father, post-scare, initiated calls, awkward discussions evolving into tentative understanding. "Proud of you, son," he admitted once, words Neil had craved for years. His mother baked cookies for their visits, symbols of mending. Yet societal wounds healed slower. Online trolls persisted, reminders that progress was uneven in America, where laws advanced but hearts lagged. Neil's leadership tested him daily. A major deal loomed, merging with a rival bank tainted by scandals. Board pressure mounted. Profit first. Echoing Harrington's regrets, Neil vetoed it, facing backlash. "You're too soft," critics said, tying it to his identity. He pushed forward, launching initiatives for LGBTQ employees, drawing praise from advocates but ire from conservatives. Boycotts flared, but allies rallied, the bank emerging stronger. The moral victories affirmed his choices, yet each carried echoes of sacrifice. Time stolen from Jamie, health strained by stress. Personal awakenings deepened. Therapy sessions unpacked traumas, the hospital slurs, family rejections, trial humiliations. "You've paid dearly," his counselor noted. Neil reflected on Harrington's life. A man who built walls to hide, dying with regrets. "I won't repeat that," Neil vowed. He and Jamie adopted a dog, a small step toward normalcy. Their Brooklyn home a sanctuary amid chaos. Date nights became sacred, rebuilding what the ordeal nearly shattered. "I almost lost you," Neil confessed one evening. Jamie smiled. "But you fought for us." Their bond, forged in fire, emerged resilient, a testament to love's endurance against odds. Broader impacts rippled. Neil's story inspired others. Young queer professionals sharing tales of discrimination, sparking dialogues in workplaces. He spoke at conferences, voice steady. Identity isn't a barrier, it's strength. Yet controversies persisted. A documentary probed the will's ethics, questioning if Harrington's vulnerability invalidated the gift. Neil defended it passionately. Choice matters, even in death. The film ignited debates, polarizing viewers. Some hailed him a hero, others a symbol of overreach. As years blurred, the empire flourished under Neil's ethical helm, profits soaring alongside social good. But ghosts lingered. What if he'd refused the inheritance? Would life be simpler, free from scrutiny? A pivotal moment came during a family crisis. Edward's health failed, mirroring Harrington's. He reached out. "Help me understand, Dad." Neil visited, sharing untold stories. "He loved you, but feared your greed." Edward wept, confessions flowing. His own repressed feelings, pressures to conform. The reconciliation healed old rifts, a cycle broken. Neil pondered the journey's toll. Betrayals endured, Alliances forged, self-doubt conquered. Nursing taught empathy. Banking demanded ruthlessness. Balancing them shaped him, a man who chose authenticity over ease. With Jamie, they planned a family, adoption papers in hand, defying norms. "Our legacy," Jamie said. Neil nodded, heart full yet scarred. In quiet moments, Harrington's words echoed. The road not taken. Neil had taken it, paying dearly, lost privacy, strained loves, moral compromises. But gains outweighed freedom, impact, love reaffirmed. Society evolved incrementally, his story a catalyst. Yet questions remained, ethics debated in hushed tones. Was Reginald Harrington's decision to bequeath his empire to Neil a rightful act of redemption, or an unethical burden thrust upon an unwitting caregiver?